Okay. Good evening. I'm going to call the Legislative and Legal Committee to order at 7:24 p.m. on March 21st. It's our first meeting of the term, so welcome everyone and our members, Councilor Oram and Councilor Roby. Other members who are present is Councilor Irish, Councilor Navin, Councilor Landers, President Ossing, Councilor Wagner, Councilor Doucette, and Councilor Dumas. We have one item on the agenda this evening. Order number 22-100-8516, communication from engineering design consultants on behalf of Lacombe Business Center, re-sewer taking and easement relative to certain parcels on Lacombe Street. I want to thank the city engineer and the solicitor for sharing some information ahead of time, and if they're able to, if the city engineer could join us here in the middle as well. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read the letter that provided a background about this particular order number. And so I would invite the engineer to give us a little bit of an overview for those who might not be as well aware. And then hopefully the solicitor will be able to join us. And then we'll make sure that everything is also squared away with the applicant. Good evening, Engineer DePercio. Thank you for joining us.
I see you picked a nice, easy, straightforward, easy to follow order for your first order to get your feet wet here. I guess just to summarize what happened here, this is the Lacombe Business Center. The area, the land that was on was actually owned by the city. The city acquired it in the 50s for a short time, and then sold it again. But before selling it, they kept a piece of land 30 feet wide around where a sewer line goes through this property. So the city sewer system travels through this property, and at that time in the 50s, when the city sold the land, they kept the ownership of that strip of land, which is a little bit unique to Marlborough, but there's several areas of the city where the sewer goes through private properties, and instead of what's more customary in the city or town having easement rights, but the landowner owns the land, in Marlborough there are several places where the city actually owns that 30-foot strip in fee ownership of the land. So that's how this was in 1955, I think, when the city sold the rest of the land but kept that 30-foot strip. So it stayed that way until sometime in the 60s, and the owner and his engineer here, they're the ones that did the work here in tracking the title and kind of outlining what happened here. But at some point in the 60s, through various conveyances of pieces of this land, this 30-foot strip became referred to as an easement. So there's really nothing in the title record where the city gave up its ownership of this strip and only kept the easement rights, but it started being called an easement in the deeds. And it stayed that way after that point. So there was various conveyances, and then this subdivision that you see, what's there now, these lots, those are plans that were signed by the planning board, and it was referred to as an easement during those conveyances and during the creation of those lots. So one of the exhibits that you had as part of the packet shows what the planning board subdivision plan shows, which is these lots with frontage on Lacombe Street and this sewer easement going through. But really, again, there was nothing in the chain of title that where the city actually did give up its ownership. So this came to light as part of a conveyance that was in the works for 44 Lacombe Street. I don't know exactly who discovered this, but they found out, hey, it looks like the city could make a case that they still own this strip of land. Obviously, that if the city were to make that case that the city still owns this strip, the other exhibit you see with the colors on it in your packet is what would result of that. And there'd be a lot of parcels without frontage. There'd be buildings with setback issues to property lines. So what their order is requesting is that the city convey out or release any of its ownership that it has in this 30-foot strip, get it official in the title, and retain the easement rights. So, so the lots would look like they did on the planning board plan. The city would have its rights that we need to go in and maintain the sewer, but it would clean up the title and, you know, get it in the title as an easement. And the other piece of it is, in the course of doing this easement work, they're making a change to a drain easement on another part of the property that the city has rights to, and that's really just to kind of clean up that easement and make it reflect what's actually on the ground. So that's an easement for a detention basin that the city has rights in to go in and maintain, and the engineer decided as part of this to just move that easement line so that it contains the detention basin. It was, so that's more of that's something that I agreed should be done as part of this, but it's not related directly to the sewer issue. That's the more confusing part of it.
Yes, well, we appreciate you explaining it in simpler terms for those of us less familiar with the content area, but it's definitely makes sense to clean up this type of information so it is streamlined and matches so that they can move forward with anything that they want to do with the property. And I know that the solicitor isn't with us, but I did want to confirm, I know that you've spoken with the applicant and have been able to have the language be mutually supported on both sides. Is that correct?
Correct, yep.
Do you want to join us? Good evening.
It's on, correct? You can hear me? Yep. Okay, great.
Uh,
Peter Bemis, Engineering Design Consultants.
He's going to switch your mic really quickly. Thank you.
Good evening, Peter Bemis, Engineering Design Consultants. So we've been helping Lacombe Business Center understand this issue, as well as the property owners that are looking to purchase the 44 Lacombe Street property from Lacombe Business Center. And thank goodness Tom has had a background in surveying and engineering, so he understood the issues that we brought up. So we did find that the record did reflect an easement, and at some point the correct paperwork just was not prepared in the 50s/60s. So we're fully supportive of this. We hope that you folks will be as well. This is a lot of tax revenue there for the city, and this is something that just needs to be done to clean this up. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yes,
do that.
and thank you so much. It's good to hear that there's a mutual agreement on the language. I want to open it up to committee members for any particular questions for either the applicant or the engineer, and then we'll open it up to the full council members who are present. Councilor Oram.
Just curious, not concerned too much about wrapping up the legal status of this, but is there any work that's needed right now on that pipe, or is it in good condition? Have we assessed the pipe to make sure it's in good condition?
We have not, but regardless of that, the city has owned the pipe through either through easement rights or through ownership of the land. So one way or the other, it's our pipe. So even if there were issues with it, it's not something that, you know,
So you were...
somebody else would own that we could
Sure.
get them to fix it.
The reason I ask, I've dealt with an easement where I used to work where the utility company was concerned about people having sheds on the property. Is this area cleared of any sheds or structures that may have been put on without knowledge?
It's cleared of any structures, whether there's portable things like sheds or something. I haven't walked it to confirm that, but I don't believe so.
It would make it clean now to make sure that's been assessed before we switch it over, in my view, just so we don't run into property owners saying, I didn't know you were going to have to dig through my shed,
Right.
you know, something like that. So that'd be my only suggestion. It does need
Good
to be
point.
cleaned up. So maybe if the DPW, before this is initiated, walks it just
check
to
it,
make sure,
sure.
I think it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Councilor Roby?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe the owner of the property is here. I also use one of the facilities there. It's multiple buildings, and the buildings, as you can see from the plans that we have, are not on the easement itself. I would think that There would not have been any outside storage things allowed in this, but if the owner's here, we could get the clarification from him. I think they would all appreciate this getting done sooner rather than later, and I was ready to make a motion, which I could still do and see where
Yes,
it goes.
if
but-
the owner would like to
I
also.
was going to say,
Oh,
I don't mind speaking, because
feel free,
we've
yes.
surveyed this, so I can assure you that there is nothing there. I didn't want to address Councilor Orem's comment, but I didn't want to speak out of turn.
No, please, go
So-
ahead,
No,
yes.
no, so this, in most cases, this is actually paved property limits. Most of where this sewer easement actually is the old extension of Brook Street. So that is the portion of, then it hooks a left and goes behind Kennedy's pub, back out to Route 85. So that's where it comes back across, back into your public layout there. But for the stretch that goes through all of Lacombe Business Center, it is mostly paved and open, and there are no structures other than pavement there. Thank you.
Councilor Roby, any further comments?
No, I guess I will let you, if nobody has, that aren't on the committee, doesn't have questions, I will,
Yeah, any other comments?
But-
Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
if I may,
Yes.
I'm going to move to approve the order that we have, which includes authorizing the mayor to execute the release deeds, accepts the sewer easement as specified on the plans, and authorizes the mayor to execute an amendment to the easement, and release deeds that are attached to this. So multiple things that are going to happen with one simple, concise order.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor Ossing?
thank you, Manager. I just want to make sure that the committee, I know you're aware of it, that we have the solicitor put it in proper format in
Yes.
a letter for us so that it appears on the next agenda, because I'm sure they're anxious to move along with this.
Yes, great point. So we want to make sure that, kind of going along with your motion, Councilor Roby, that we send it to the solicitor to be put in proper legal form for the March 28th meeting.
No, I think the point that Councilor Austin was making, it is in proper form.
Okay.
So once we approve it, it could just be on the agenda and get voted on. Is that not?
Does it need?
I'm sorry, allow. Okay.
Okay. So just for the committee members, are people comfortable with asking for a suspension at the 28th meeting? Yes? Okay. So we have a motion that was seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes 3-0. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Passes 3-0. We are adjourned at 7:37 PM. And thank you to the engineer and the applicant for coming. Thank you.